When my husband handed me the dress, he did it with the quiet pride of someone who believed he'd chosen perfectly. He wasn't the type for grand gestures, which is why the softness of the fabric, the careful wrapping, the faint scent of the boutique tissue paper felt unusually intimate. It was elegant without trying too hard, understated, expensive in a way that didn't beg to be noticed. I thanked him, of course. I even meant it. But appreciation is rarely a clean emotion. There was something else underneath, the faint discomfort of knowing that gifts sometimes carry unintended meanings. A dress is never just a dress. It is a comparison waiting to happen. His sister arrived the next afternoon. She had always been warm, affectionate, effortlessly charming. The kind of person who leaned into rooms rather than entered them. We were close enough to share coffee and casual confidences, but not close enough to name the subtle frictions that accumulate in families. She saw the dress immediately. Her reaction was instinctive, almost childlike, eyes widening, fingers hovering before touching the sleeve. "Could I try it on?" she asked, already smiling, already assuming the answer. I laughed. I nodded. It felt petty not to. She slipped into the bedroom with the dress draped carefully over her arm. I remember noticing how gently she held it, with more tenderness, perhaps, than I had. The first scream didn't sound like fear. It sounded like shock. Then came another, sharper, raw enough to send a chill through the hallway. I rushed in. She stood frozen before the mirror, hands clawing at the fabric as though it had tightened around her without warning. "Take it off," she gasped. "Take it off me." For a moment, I genuinely thought something physical had happened, a torn seam, a pin left inside, a zipper snagged against skin. But nothing was wrong, the dress hung perfectly. Her reflection was immaculate, which made the panic incomprehensible. I moved toward her, unsure whether to touch her or keep my distance. Her breathing had turned shallow, erratic, eyes locked on the mirror, with a kind of horrified disbelief. "It's okay," I said softly, though I didn't know what was. She shook her head violently. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." And then I saw it, not in the dress, but in her face. Recognition. Not of the garment but of herself inside it. The realization settled slowly, like a fog I hadn't noticed creeping in. The dress wasn't the problem. The resemblance was. Same cut. Same silhouette. Same careful lines that erased differences and emphasized similarities. In the mirror, stripped of context, we could have been mistaken for each other. Her distress wasn't theatrical. It was deeply, unsettlingly real. I helped her out of the dress, movements deliberate, almost clinical. Once the fabric slid from her shoulders, the tension didn't vanish. It merely shifted. She wouldn't look at me. Wouldn't look at the mirror. Wouldn't sit. Minutes passed in fractured silence before she finally spoke, voice thin, scraped raw. "I thought." She stopped. Started again. "I didn't know it would feel like that." There are moments when asking questions feels less like curiosity and more like intrusion. This was one of them. So I didn't ask. But something irreversible had already surfaced, something neither of us could comfortably pretend hadn't existed. She left soon after, apology muttered, composure only partially restored. The quiet that followed felt heavier than the screaming. I folded the dress back into its wrapping with a care that bordered on reluctance. It no longer felt like a gift, it felt like evidence. That evening, my husband noticed the tension before I said anything. Not because he was perceptive, but because emotional shifts alter the air in ways that are impossible to disguise. When I explained, I did it carefully. Without accusation, without interpretation. He listened, really listened, and then after a long pause, he did something unexpected. He called her, not to soothe, not to apologize, but to establish something clear and unambiguous. I could hear only fragments, his voice steady, measured, firm in a way I had rarely heard. No raised tones, no anger, just boundaries. The authority of the moment wasn't loud, but it was unmistakable. Something shifted, not dramatically, not vindictively, but decisively. Later, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling. aware that the dress now represented something neither of us had intended. It had exposed a quiet rivalry we'd both politely ignored for years, the small comparisons, the invisible measuring, the fragile balances of self-worth that families pretend do not exist. The dress remained in the closet, unworn, not out of resentment, but because some objects become too honest to inhabit comfortably. And honesty, once revealed, has a way of lingering long after the fabric is put away.